Yeah, last week um, we had this machine, Richmond Gold, but like today we're having Richmond One to make noodles, and then these are the ingredients, and so these are the solid ingredients, right? And then so this is the flour, right? It's the flour, ramen flour, like with the like higher protein, and this is gluten powder, and it's egg white powder, egg white in powder form, and this is the water, like liquid ingredients, water, concentrate, and salt, and then this is some like pigment, coloring agent. So today Megumi is making ramen noodles for miso ramen. Miso ramen. So miso ramen is well pretty famous for in well especially in like Hokkaido area, like Hokkaido miso ramen, like that's a no, like more northern part Japan, and yeah, well, so first she wants to kind of mix the only the solid ingredients alone, right? And just to make sure that like all these solid ingredients are well blended well, because I think we have three different types of like solid ingredients in there. And so while it's mixing, right, she wants to well dissolve like all these ingredients, constantly salt, right? And this time around, like pigment coloring agent. So miso ramen, like I think like we have the reason like we put the coloring agent or the pigment is that in there is that like I think we have an image of kind of miso ramen noodles as being um, yellow, right? Yellow, and well, some people are like will say that well that's a color of eggs, right? Well, like but like, it's actually not, and that kind of like bright yellow color, you know, you can't really bring into the noodles like with the eggs only, and so they use this kind of like coloring agent like vitamin B2 and some that are made out of like some other ingredients like well natural ingredients as well. And so yeah, she added the liquid, and it's kind of fun to watch that's being mixed. But like um, yeah, she made me prepare the dough in advance, well, to avoid like wasting your time. Um, so look at the color, right? It's like it's just really, really yellow, and yeah, this kind of yellowness, like you can't really, yeah, bring with just the eggs only, and look at it like this really bright color, yellow color, right? And so you have to use the just a bit of pigment, and yeah, remember that like she added the pigment like into the water, right? Water and like and then like made that liquid color like in a kind of orange, and now it came out to be like kind of bright yellow. But so the first process, like she's doing, like just you know, it's like crumbles of dough, right? And first thing we want to do, like in this process, like we just want to like make it into this sheet of dough in this machine, and then that's the sort of like first shape that we want to make it into, and so we call this process like just rough foaming. So rough foaming, like just making like rough sheet of dough. Rough sheet of dough that's still pretty fragile. So um, from the next process, like we want to make it, stronger, firmer. Yeah, and like miso ramen is like it's very famous. Like I think most of the Japanese people like when they hear the word like miso ramen, I think they imagine like I think there are certain words like that come to their minds, like the Hokkaido, you eat like when you cold, when it's cold, and then miso, it's yeah, it's just like like seasoning that's really you know resonate with the like kind of traditional Japanese miso soup, right? Um, so it's kind of a bit weird like for us to like have like something from well something like originally from like China to eat with like so but miso ramen like that's really um, you know it's been around for like almost like 100 years so and then people love to eat it when it's especially when it's cold and so and then it's very nutritious like the miso the nutritious value of miso like is tremendous, right? For so it's something like you may want to consider like doing at your ramen shop. Yeah, just doing the miso ramen for and then because the miso itself like has um, yeah a lot of benefits like including like immunity booster. So um, soybeans in general, like we like there are other products like that are made of soybeans that are said to be very nutritious and like which have like a lot of like health benefits. And so what Megan is doing right now is like she's separating this dough into there's two rolls of dough sheet, right? And then she wants to like combine this dough through the roller, right? So kind of putting these two separate sheets of dough into together through a roller, and by doing that, like she can kind of strengthen the dough texture. Yeah, so like turning the two layers of dough into one through the roller gap, like the roller, right? Through says rollers, and then yeah, so there's a lot of pressure like that being applied to the dough and through the rollers, and by doing this, yeah, we can make the dough like yeah, pretty strong and firm. And I think you guys like didn't, are not hearing this, like sound of like the machine operating, right? Yeah, it's very quiet. It's very quiet. It, yeah, I can barely hear it, like hear any sound, but like, so that's why a lot of our customers like we're using this machine, put this machine like, well, near the customers actually, like, they probably have like glass wall or something, but like, they put the machine like right next to the dining room or somewhere, and then, where customers can see the machine making noodles. So, because yeah, just because like this machine is pretty quiet, and yeah, yeah. So this is like what we call like combining process, and just making that dough firm, right? And so that's kind of like working the muscle of like kind of well kind of building body like kind of, making yourself like stronger, like, kind of developing muscle, right? That's kind of equivalent, like, well, that this, this process, equivalent to that. And then, so by kind of like, well, applying the pressure, right? Applying pressure and to the dough, the dough actually gets stronger and more firmer. So we usually do this process like twice. So do this process twice, and to make sure that it's firm enough, like the gluten structure inside is like thoroughly developed, right? And the reason we added, see, usually the for miso ramen, right? For miso ramen noodles for miso ramen, like we don't usually add those two items we saw, the egg white powder and the gluten powder. But we adding like, because gluten powder like that makes the noodle texture like real hard. The egg white powder like the same thing, but like kind of different kind of like hardness. And egg white is like we especially use it for kind of thin noodle because the thin noodle like get soft fast in hot soup, right? Uh, but we want to keep the noodle texture as long as we can, so we add the egg white to keep the noodle texture longer in hot soup. So egg white works as sort of like kind of a waterproofing, sort of water resistant. Um, then, but miso ramen is like usually typically thick, right? Really thick. Um, but then but like we're actually using this miso ramen noodles as like takeaway delivery items. So that's why because so we want to, even though like they are thick, right? We want the noodles to, well, retain the texture like as long as possible. So that's why we put these two ingredients. And then the hydration ratio is high as well. It's like, so this dough. So we want to dust, right? Dust well as much as possible, like in this dough, like to keep them from sticking. Okay, so another round of cleaning, and this time around, like that's we set that roller gap to 1.5 millimeter, and yeah, the reason like we kind of like make the rounds of sheeting instead like thinning like all at once, as like we if you like thin it like drastically, then you're destroying, like damaging the gluten structure inside the dough. So that's why we will gradually thin it to, well, to retain the gluten structure side. So basically, for better noodle texture. but after combining process, we can speed up the rolling, the sheeting, and yeah, then you can easily do that with just touching the knob, and so it's very easy. Okay, so that's going through 1.5 millimeter roll gap, and see the actual thickness. So that's 2.2.0, 1.985 millimeter or something. And so the roller gap, I mean, the actual thickness is always bigger than roller gap because the dough, just bounces back after it's gone through the roller gap. So you have to, you wanna, like, before you cut it, right? Like you want to measure, what the actual thickness is, so that you see the difference, right? So that the difference that means how much. Yeah, and then this is a cutter, right? This is a cutter number 18, and with that, like, silicone plates attached in the back of the cutter, and so this silicone plate is important for certain jobs. Like, well, actually, you need these silicone plates to do that. Yeah, to add like certain feature into these noodles. Certain feature that, like, typically ramen, like miso ramen noodles have. That's curly, being curly, right? So that's what it does, and you can actually also adjust the curliness, like how curly you want, by adjusting the parts, right? And so let's start cutting. Okay, so the noodles, curled noodles are coming out, and like, depending on your, well, depending on the shop's your preference, right? The serving size is different, right, from shop to shop, and then this machine, like, adjusted by, like, just adjusting the length of that one portion, and yeah, so you can actually change the length of the noodles pretty easily, and that automatically portions it, right? It automatically portions the noodles, so that's very easy. And then notice that the curliness, right? Curliness noodles are, well, seemingly consistent, right? And so that's just automatic. Like, you don't have to do that crawling, like, one by one, and you don't have to like, adjust and, like, measure the, like, portion by portion. Okay, so these are Miss ramen noodles for take-on delivery, and they look yeah, beautiful. And after you make noodles, right, make them fresh, you want to cover them. You want to cover them because, like, they they get dried, like, pretty fast. So, like, you want to cover them, like, in a plastic bag or something, to keep them from getting exposed to the air. you want to cover them, to keep them from drying. All right, so let's go to the kitchen where our instructor is waiting for us. And see, so this is our showroom. It's 5:30 in Japan, so it's kind of getting dark, but all right. So this is our kitchen, and it's where we teach, how to make ramen soup and everything, like one-on-one, and all the equipment we talked about, right? So we have like induction cookers, like big ones, for to make cuckoo like base stocks, and so we only teach up to like 8 people at a time, like in real course, and it's got everything like noodle cookers, sink, everything, like, so we can make all the, yeah, everything from like scratch, any kind of ramen. So from this facility, and then Miss Sano, our instructor, we're happy to have her to teach us, certain types of like ramen dishes. Like they are great for takeout and home meal kit. So thank you, Miss Sano. Thank you.
よろしくお願いします。はい。今回はテイクアウトのラーメン2種類作っていきます。
Sorry, takeout. Hi. All right, so like we're gonna make like two types of ramen dishes, like for takeaway. Sorry.
はい。味噌ラーメンと混ぜ麺2種類です。
Okay, so miso ramen and another one like mazemen, like soupless noodle, soupless ramen.
はい。味噌ラーメンの方なんですけど、こちらですね。
Okay, so for miso ramen, so this is the.
真空パックしてテイクアウトできるように。
Okay, so I think this is like maybe like takeout and home meal kit, but like this is a like vacuum pack. Vacuum, like each component is vacuum packed, right? So soup, that's already mixed with taro and everything, and then like noodles and toppings.
で、ご家庭で麺を茹でて、スープを温めてもらって、こんな感じに出来上がります。
So again, like as we talked about, like so we have to rely on the customers to be able to like prepare all these noodles. They have to cook them and then warm the toppings and then warm the soup, right? And then just prepare a bowl like this. So we have to rely on the customer. So we have to have like clear instruction on how to do that.
先ほど作っていただいた麺だと1分40秒ぐらい茹でていただくと、ちょうどいい感じになります。
So the noodles like we just made, right? So the cooking time for that noodle is like 1 minute and 40 seconds.
はい。じゃあ次、混ぜ麺いきますね。
Right. So let's move to mazemen, like soupless.
はい。混ぜ麺の方もテイクアウトバージョンで作っていきます。
So we'll make the takeaway version of mazemen.
で、混ぜ麺は学校でやってるみたいに元だれとか合わせて作ります。
Okay, so we're lucky to we were lucky to be like see all the recipes that like in it. So she's gonna show us like how we develop mazemen like a school.
で、ラーメンはスープベースと元だれと香味の3つからなります。
So mazemen, like soupless ramen, for those of you who don't know, right? It just consists of the tare, right, and oil, and then the powder.
で、混ぜ麺の場合はスープがないので、スープベースの代わりに魚粉、魚の粉を使います。
Yeah, so that's why it's called like soupless ramen, and then like there's no soup, right? So instead of the soup, right, we use the powder, fish powder in this case.
なので、魚粉と元だれと香味、この3つからなります。
Yeah, so that soup like consists of, like, it's not really soup, but like, the sauce consists of powder, tare, and oil.
じゃあ一つちょっと見ていきます。まず、魚粉が 5g で、サバの粉とグルメの粉が1対1で 5g。
So the 5 grams of fish powder, and that's 1-to-1 ratio of like mackerel and round herring powder.
で、これ1人前の量です。
And that's just for one serving.
で、元だれが合わせ酢が 4g。
Okay, so for the tare, like which is seasoning, the blended vinegar 4 grams,
で、ナンプラー 1g。
fish sauce just 1 gram,
で、これが隠し味的な存在になります。
and that's like kind of, well, yeah, it's kind of like, kind of hidden the seasoning, the taste flavor.
で、次チャーシューの甘口が 4g。
And then 4 grams of chashu sweet, like that's actually tare made out of the, well, leftover of like, the pork chashu juice, the stock.
最初作った時の、汁に醤油入れた感じで。
Yeah, and then we add the some soy sauce and then other stuff in it to make it.
次、生3種っていう醤油の元だれが入ります。
So 8 grams like raw soy sauce, like 3 blend, like that's actually 3 types of like soy sauce. Like fresh means like, we don't apply any heat to it, so we just marinate all these like different types of ingredients, 3 types of ingredients in the soy sauce over time to make it.
で、醤油に火を入れてないので、しっかり醤油感が残った感じになります。
Yeah, because we don't apply any heat, right? So like, it's got like strong flavor of soy sauce.
で、次が火を入れた醤油の元だれが 4g。
Yeah, and then like 4 grams of like heated soy, 3 blended. Like again, like, these are the tare, like, soy sauce tare, like made out of like, 3 different like ingredients infused in it. And, but this time like we cook them in the soy sauce, so we apply heat.
こっちが火を入れてるので、醤油の角が取れたようなマイルドな感じになってます。
Yeah, so this one, well, because we apply heat, right? So like, has like all the yeah, it's like edgy flavor, like edgy taste, like in the soy sauce is kind of like rounded, kind of. So kind of milder than the previous one.
で、次に切りみりんが 5g 入ります。
So 5 grams like heated mirin. So that's, mirin's like, yeah, has like some alcohol, but like, we heat it and then like flamed it and then just got that evaporated.
切りみりんを入れることで全体をまとめてくれるような役割をします。
Yeah, so heated mirin like so like works as like, Производство, like kind of rounding all the different flavors, so like as one, and so that's why you use it.
ここに和牛が入って、完成。
Yeah, and then we add the flavor oil and to complete it.
はい、じゃあ実際に作っていきます。
Okay, so let's start.
で、こちら、はかりです。
Yeah, so that's scale, and
で、ここにいろいろさっきの元だれ類が並んでるんですけど、はい、これを合わせていきます。
yeah, so these are the flavor tares, that we just explained, right? And then you're gonna blend them together at these quantities that we just talked about.
で、これが、魚粉 5g も測ってあります。
Okay, that's the fish powder, and we only weighed 5 grams.
で、元だれを上から計量していきますね。
Okay, so let's start weighing the tare.
まず合わせ酢、これが 4g 入ります。
Okay, blended vinegar 4 grams.
細かいんですけど、しっかり を合わせていきます。
Right. So it's very um, like detailed, like it's very subtle and precise, but like you wanna be precise in this process.
次ナンプラー1グラム。
Fish powder, fish sauce, just 1 gram.
こうやって一個一個計量することで、誰が作っても同じような味が作り出すことができます。
Yeah, so by like measuring these just one by one, then anyone can reproduce the same thing like over and over.
次がチャーシューの甘酢これが4グラムですね。
There's 4 grams of chashu sweet tare. And again, like we cook the chashu like the chunk of pork meat, right, in the hot soup, and then hot water, and then the leftover we add certain types like soy sauce, and then make this tare.
で生パンこれが8グラム入ります。
So 8 grams of uh, fresh soy sauce, pre-blend.
次が火を入れた醤油の素だれがこれが4グラムです。
Okay, so 4 grams of heated soy pre-blend.
同じ醤油でもいろいろ使い分けてあげると味に深みが出てより美味しくなります。
Yeah, so like even like using the same type of soy sauce, like if you can utilize them like differently, um, then you can make different tastes, different flavors. And heating mirin, that's 5 grams. That's the last one.
切り身肉が入って完成です。で、テイクアウト用なので持ち帰りのケースにこれ詰めます。
Yeah, and so this is for takeout. So I'm just gonna put it in this small bottle.
入れにくい。
And for those of you like who are wondering, well, I can't do that like for every single order, right? But then this is a flavored oil,
これが香味油です。
flavored oil. But for tare and like flavored oil, like you can actually, pre, I mean, you can actually pre-measure them like, and then for example like 10 servings, like 100 servings, and then you take a ladle, right, and that can actually measure exactly the same quantity, right, and so you don't have to measure them like one by one like for so you can just measure like for 100 servings, or 200 servings some, and then you just have like a ladle that like just one scoop is enough for one serving or something. So yeah, it wouldn't be that cumbersome and like time consuming. But when you're deciding on the recipe, right? When you're blending the recipe to reach your recipe, then you may want to do that.
はい、詰めれました。
Okay, so that's the tare, that sauce for soupless like ramen, mazemen.
で、茹でていきます。
Okay, so I'm gonna start cooking the noodles for mazemen.
で、大体この太さだと半分ぐらい茹でてあります。
Yeah, so for this size, right, like I'll probably have to like cook it for 3 minutes.
で、今しっかりお湯が沸騰している状態の中に入れたいので、しばらく待ってください。
Yeah, so yeah, one thing like we have to say about like good cooking practice, good noodle cooking practice is that like you have to have boiling water ready before you put that noodles in. So just give me a minute. And when it starts like boiling, boiling, then like we can put the noodles in, right? And then make sure once you put the noodle in, like you have to like start stirring it, right? You don't want to have if you don't want to have like noodles like and I don't know getting stuck together. So as soon as you put the noodles in, right, to start stirring the noodles so that they don't get stuck to each other.
で、まあ、茹でる時に、湯を足しながら、水をしながら入れます。それ
Yeah.
と同じ水だと、濁ってきてうまく茹でられなくなるので、新しい水も仕上げます。
Yeah, so while you're cooking the noodles, right, the reason we have the faucet, right, above the noodle cooker is that like we want to have the cooking water like kind of being cleaned little by little because we have the overflow and yeah, this hole, right, is actually draining some of the dirty water, uh, right? And then at the same time we want to add the lost water, right? And then to maintain the water temperature, we want to run a little bit of a little hot water, and so that we don't lose that temperature, right, as much. So that's why we want to have like this system, right, of the noodle cooker. There's an overflow. You can like some dirty water can overflow, and then like at the same time you can drain the dirty water, and at the same time we want to supply new clean water. But new clean water should be hot, right, so that we wouldn't lose the cooking temperature. Because like while the noodle is cooking, right, we want to keep the water temperature. So so that like we want to keep having this optimal like sort of like cooking temperature, right? So that we can cook the noodles as efficiently as possible.
で、その間にですね、トッピングの用意をしています。
Yeah. So while I'm cooking the noodles, right, I'm preparing the toppings.
これが、
Or
豚のひき肉をちょっと甘辛く味付けしたもの。
yeah, with the ground pork, the seasoned with like some yeah, sugar and like soy sauce and other stuff. But basically like this is kind of typical the seasoning and toppings for mazamen.
そろそろ出来上がります。で、茹でるのでお湯を注ぎます。
Okay, so you have to strain as much water as possible like from the noodles so that the sauce wouldn't get diluted.
で、テイクアウト用の器に盛り付けていきます。
Yeah, so this is the container for takeout, and
で、これは玉ねぎを粗めに刻んだもの。
yeah, so this is like actually onions, like kind of roughly chopped onions. Okay.
次の割り入れ。
And chopped up scallions.
まず麺の盛り付けのポイントとしては、麺が見えないように、麺が隠れるようにトッピングを盛大に盛り付けるっていうのが一応大和流になっています。
Right. So like our like plating technique, the basic about plating technique is that like for mazeme especially is that like we want to top the noodles in a way that like noodles hidden under the toppings.
これ焼きなんで
That's nori, but like so like they're really like kind of grilled um, nori,
さっき炒めてたひき肉だ
and yeah, then adding the ground pork on top, so like in the center to sort of like hide the noodles, conceal the noodles. Okay, so that's
真ん中に卵黄の上に乗せていきます
and yeah, so that's kind of typical, but like we want to have the egg yolk in the center.
で最後に唐辛子で赤みを
Right, and then lastly, like I want to add like a bit of like the thinly like sliced the chili peppers on top to like kind of add the red color. Okay, so that's mazame like for takeaway.
で食べるときにこのタレをしっかり振ってかけてあげて食べるようになります
Yeah, so when customers eat, right, they should like shake that bottle well, and then pour it onto the mazame container, right? So that needs to be in the instruction manual.
はい、で、今回の正解の混ぜ麺と味噌ラーメンの完成です。以上になります。
Okay, so these are the mazame like for takeaway and miso ramen for yeah, it's like takeout too, but like you can use it as home meal kit too. So yeah, so that's it. So thank you, Lusano, for this class. So